And guess what? They're only looking for relief. They're not looking for progression. So guess what? They're going to do whatever they want this entire week. And then get on this short-term goal of saying, I'm going to lose 10 pounds. I'm going to lose 20 pounds. And then when they find that, they'll go right back into their old patterns. It's a short-term relief. It's not a long-term standard. All right, some technical difficulties here and the final episode of Mindset Mastery. This is episode number 52 for 2021. And I am here. I'm excited to be here. And, and I realize that this is just the beginning of many, many more years of self-development, self-actualization, self-development, and self-progression, right? Progression of just becoming better of the person that I used to be. And that all started with the mindset of not looking for relief. I'm not looking just to hit a certain milestone and say, okay, I've achieved it. This is where I'm going to stay. In fact, it's always just been this deep, almost like conviction within that there is more within me. And there was a time where I was just chasing the accomplishment, the money in my bank account. There was a time where I was just trying to get things to just work, right? I wanted to stop fighting. So I just, got my marriage to a point where we just stopped fighting, as opposed to seeing it of what it can be, where it could be, where it can progress. And I want to go ahead and start by showcasing a video, and I'm going to dive into this whole conversation about, stop seeking relief. And I see some of our top players. Good morning to you, Ruben, Celia, Edgar, Patrick. And I am going to bring up, Ruben Luna a little bit later about, what I see and where he's at, right? Because he has the same mindset of not just simply looking for relief, but to continue to progress to see what we can actually create. But before we get there, I want to go ahead and showcase a video that I created back in 2014. And I didn't realize that was already 7 years ago. 7 years ago. And I wanted to share this because it almost seems like I proclaimed what I was going to create in life. I proclaimed where, the satisfaction I was going to get from just a day-to-day operation of doing the right things every day. And I want to go ahead and share this, and then we're going to talk about it, okay? And I'm going to read exactly what I wrote back then so that we can be on the same page here. So go ahead and play the video, and then we're going to get back to this in just a second. How do you transcend to the person you want to become? How do you change the monotony of how things have been? I start thinking about what I wanted and how far I thought it was from actually achieving it. How I wanted harmony in my marriage. I wanted a connection with my kids. I wanted to feel the best I have in years at age 36. I wanted a successful business. And although I've achieved the different things at times in my life, I've never achieved them all at once. Happiness. And an overall purpose of what I need to do in this life. I needed to become someone that I wasn't at the time. However, someone that I was born to be. I needed to take responsibility that that's who I am. And it doesn't happen overnight to feel great in your own skin. It takes countless hours of dedication in all aspects of your life. It takes overcoming those fears and doubt that maybe you're not that person, only to push through and own it. 300 plus hours so far this year at the gym. 300 plus hours building my skill set and my mindset through studying every single day. It's amazing how things just accumulate. I do feel better than I have in years, 10, 15 years. My marriage is stronger than it's ever been for that same reason. The time and the sheer desire to want more. We can all just simply flow through life. And it would be a good life. The desire to want more and become more and lead is what this world needs. So as the sun comes up, it just reaffirms my desire to continue going. We all have that ability. We just simply take it a day at a time. Where you can be may seem daunting, right? What you want out of life, financial freedom, in your marriage, for your body may seem impossible right now. But if you simply start today and look at what you want from day to day as opposed to long term, you will achieve it. Go get them. All right, so again, that was in 2014. And I started seeing my accomplishments kind of just grow into this momentum, right? It was starting to grow that momentum so that there were significant differences on how I perceived life, what my perspective was and where it's at today, of where my marriage was going, where my body was going, where my business was going. And it was a simple, having that faith that doing the small things every day will lead up to something, right? And realizing that once I get there, I can't find relief. I can't just get my marriage to a point where we're just not fighting. That's not good enough. I can't get my business to where it just covers the bills. That's not good enough. I can't get my body to where it feels good and it looks good and just stay there. I have to continue to push those envelopes. And, owning this brokerage for 10 years. And also, in 2021, we started the DTW challenge. And one of the things that I realized, and I see these patterns, is that, a lot of us often look for relief. We seek relief. And not knowing that there's something way beyond that, right? And for many of you that didn't necessarily grow your business and saw a pattern of actually reversing that process, reversing the process of not necessarily getting the type of closings that you wanted this year and saw a decline in progression, you start noticing that you found relief somewhere. And there was no real reason to continue to push the envelope. If there was less homes sold this year, it's because somewhere along the lines there was a relief to your pain. And I think many times we just work up to relieve that pain, not realizing that there's so much more beyond that. And as I look at this video, I start thinking, if I would have just stayed there, I would have gone into this loop of making sure that I would destroy all that progression and get back to that same place again. And that was my story for many, many years. Things were bad and then things were good until things got bad again. And then I would work to get things good. And it was satisfying because I didn't see the pattern. And many of us have not seen that pattern where we work really hard. We pay a lot of attention. We work with intention up to a point where that pain, we find relief. And then we forget about the pain, only to find ourselves in that pain a few months down the road. And, with the brokerage, I see this all the time. There's this great sense of relief when there is a buyer that wants to buy or a seller that wants to sell. There's relief in the fact that, hey, I have that one deal or those two deals or those three deals that I need to maintain my level of lifestyle. But it's never about what more can I create. So the intention is not there. It's only there until we're able to satisfy that short-term pain. And you'll see a great polarity against those that continue to progress, that continue to push the envelope, where year after year, there's always growth. Because to them, it's not about the money. To them, it's not working up until marriage is good or to just getting your body to a certain point to say, okay, finally, I got here. It goes way beyond those simple measurements, but to realize that there's more within. They're not just looking to cover the bills. Now they're looking past that and maybe creating that generational wealth, creating a habit for generations when you take care of your body the proper way, not go through these roller coaster of habits and patterns. Showcasing the next generation that marriage can be a sacred bond that can last a lifetime. I love it when my daughters catch Carla and I just hugging and talking. I asked my daughter this weekend, I'm like, do you like when mom and dad hug each other and spend time with each other and hold hands in public? Both got a little shy. They're like, yeah, we do. Because I just didn't work to getting my marriage up to that point. I worked to improve and set a standard. And we have to be able to look at our own self patterns to realize where have we sought relief as opposed to progression. And this morning, I walk into the gym and it's empty. It's empty. I mean, the gym is empty. And many people have this mindset that, okay, well, the new year's right around the corner. So I'll go ahead and do what I want this week. Then I'll start on January 1st or January 2nd, whatever that Monday is after New Year's. And guess what? They're only looking for relief. They're not looking for progression. So guess what? They're going to do whatever they want this entire week. And then get on this short-term goal of saying, I'm going to lose 10 pounds. I'm going to lose 20 pounds. And then when they find that, they'll go right back into their old patterns. It's a short-term relief. It's not a long-term standard. And when I made this video, like now I work with anywhere between 4 and 10 guys that we meet at the gym. And I say 4 and 10 because not everyone shows up on the days they're supposed to. And they know this. I'm not trying to minimize or downgrade what they're doing because that might be their higher standard. But for a long time, these little things used to trigger me, right? Trigger me like, okay, if there's a commitment, why aren't people following up to these commitments? And what it was doing, it was just drawing negative energy towards me because I have to realize not everybody has the same standard. In fact, I wrote this down a while back. I said, I can't be triggered by someone else's lack of effort. I can't be triggered by someone else's lack of effort. We all have different standards. And when we look and when we get triggered by somebody else, we got to start looking within. Where am I falling short? Why are certain things triggering me about others? Because we usually deflect upon others where we lack ourselves. And maybe we're just looking down the wrong path, the wrong people. Because relief is about comparison of where I was. I was in pain, and now I'm not. Relief is about comparison in I am doing better than this person, so now I can rest or relax. I am far greater than who I was. Now I can take my foot off the pedal. I can chill. I can hang out. When we're looking this way, means we're not looking forward. When all we're doing is comparing of how much better we are than the next person or how much better we were than what we used to be, we're not looking at a higher standard. And this is where we have to just continue to realize that if we're just looking for relief, we're always just going to stay there. If you're just looking to cover your bills, guess what? You'll figure out a way just to cover your bills. And when you see the comparison of not closing as many transactions as you did last year, well, you didn't have to because the values went up, right? So now you have this more money for less transactions. But there wasn't this internal drive because you already found relief. And that's okay if that's where you want to be. But it's going to be okay until one day it isn't. We have to continue to push the envelope. Just like I proclaimed that in 2014 with the video I just showed you. I just didn't want to get there. I want to go beyond just worrying about money. I want to go beyond just finding relief to the arguments we used to always have. What greater things can I create? As opposed to falling into this cyclical loop of good and then bad. Things are really good in the bank account, but now I'm broke. I've seen this with the brokerage and I saw with Do the Work. This all started back in March with this new online challenges. We've put over 300 people through these programs. 300. And there's a pattern that I see often. There's the pain. I'm overweight. There's work to be done. They do the work. They find relief. And then they take their foot off the pedal. Because they didn't look through the goal. They didn't look through the target. They found relief. And now they feel accomplished. They can look back and say, well, I used to be like that. I'm farther ahead than this person. As opposed to thinking, wow, this is great. I wonder what the next level is. I wonder how far I can take this. And you see, when I did that video, I was all alone. I didn't have 5 to 10 guys with me. I did it, and I put that self-responsibility on myself. Realizing that there's much more to do. What if things can get better, progressively better, significantly better? And some of you on this comparison aspect of it, where you say, hey, well, I'm doing the same things as this person. I'm doing the same things as this top producer, as a Ruben Luna. But I don't have the same results. See, what we have to consider is that although you may be doing the same exact things as the next person, as I might be doing the same exact things as a $10 million producer, 10 million as far as revenues. But it doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to be that person, at least not yet. All it really means is that there's not a gap increasing between me and the person that I'm trying to become. That just means that I'm closing that gap, not increasing the margins. Because when you're doing the same thing as the person you need to become, it doesn't mean that you're going to catch up to that person necessarily, because they got years on you. So if you don't see the results that you want necessarily now, it doesn't mean that you won't get there. All you're doing is you're not staying behind. You're closing the margins on this side, but it's not getting further and further and greater or bigger from you, which is progression. And I hope that makes sense. Because once you get into the game of not necessarily trying to find relief, you understand that, hey, there's more beyond the next goal. There's more beyond this next target. I'm not looking for relief. Because if I was, I would have been satisfied many, many years ago. Now I look to see how much more I can create. How much more impact I can have. And not being afraid to shift when I need to. Because there is this internal drive that just says, hey, if there's a voice that's telling me to do something, I'm going to do it. There's no time for relief. I'm setting a new standard. So I want you to think about those things, about not necessarily hitting these targets. And some of you have done wonderful things, but what is beyond that? And this shouldn't be about the money. It's got to be almost like a stewardship of setting a new standard for your family and for yourself. You know, by now you know that here at Asian Associates, it's about just self-analyzation. It's about how can I grow to a bigger person in all aspects of life. And we all have that opportunity. And understand that what's coming in 2022 is not going to come easier. And you have to set a new standard for yourself. There's a lot to prosper on, and there's going to be great opportunities. But it's going to come at a higher cost. And the question now is, are you willing to pay the price? And the price is paying the piper, which is the work each and every day. So as you start looking at our top producers, as you start looking at where your life is, has it progressed in the way you want it? And if it hasn't, maybe you were just looking for relief. And this is where you start analyzing that and saying, I need to start looking through the goals because I'm here for something much greater. Because we have generations to impact. And it always aligns with what I'm trying to talk about. Today, I flipped through my 12-week targets book, and it says, failing to rise has unintended consequences that can shape generations. Failing to rise has unintended consequences that can shape generations. And that's often brought upon just seeking relief. You're not just trying to pay the bills. You're not just trying to get the marriage where you're just not arguing. You're not just trying to lose 10 pounds, 20 pounds, or whatever it may be. That 2014 video, if I would have just stopped there, none of this would have came. Because I wasn't looking for relief. Kind of like when we got into this building, I wasn't looking for relief. In fact, I felt nothing. Because it was just a natural progression. If you get overly excited about finding a new buyer or a new seller, you've been looking for relief, because if this is what you do, it's just natural progression. You should feel nothing. This is what you do. So we push hard to realize that this is just a standard. I close multiple transactions per month. You find multiple buyers per month, multiple sellers. And that excitement dissipates. Why? Because it's a standard. And it's okay to hit new milestones and be excited about that short term. But then it's like, this is now the standard. No longer is it looking for relief. Now it's about, how do I get 15 buyers and sellers a month? I'm excited about 2022, and I hope you are too. I hope that we can continue this path of progression, this path of expansion. It's exciting. And I can't wait to look down 7 more years to look at what I'm saying today and be head and shoulders of what I thought I can create. And guess what? You'll be there if you stop looking for relief. Guys, I want to thank you for joining me for this episode, the final episode of Mindset Mastery for 2021. Episode number 52, episode 300 something, right, over the years. But I'm glad to be here with you. Have a great day, and I will talk to you soon. Happy New Year. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Badass Agents Podcast, brought to you by Asian Associates and Do the Work Coaching and Consulting. You can watch this and other episodes by subscribing to our channel on YouTube or by visiting us directly at badassagents.com. And of course, you can listen to this episode and many others on your preferred podcast provider.